The marble courtyard of the International Heroes Memorial was silent. So silent, you could hear a single footstep echo like a gunshot. Visitors from around the world stood respectfully behind the velvet ropes, watching the tomb guard march his precise, flawless steps. Then came the sound that shattered that silence. "You there, guard! Salute your superior!" Gasps rippled across the courtyard. A Chinese military delegation had just entered the memorial grounds. At their front was Colonel Jiang Wei, a man known for his rigid discipline and even more rigid pride. He stopped directly in the path of the tomb guard, chin lifted, medals gleaming in the sunlight. The tomb guard didn't flinch, didn't blink, didn't even acknowledge him. Colonel Jiang's brows knitted together. "Soldier," he repeated sharply, "when a superior officer gives an order, you obey." Cameras clicked. Attendees murmured. The tension was sharp enough to slice. But still, the guard marched on. And no one in the embassy had any idea yet that what happened next would become the biggest diplomatic shock of the year. Colonel Jiang stepped into the guard's path again, forcing the sentinel to halt mid-stride, something the guard was trained never to do unless the situation met the highest threshold. The ambassador's aide whispered urgently, "Colonel, please, this is sacred ground. He can't break protocol." But Jiang was unmoved. "This guard salutes dignitaries in my country. I expect the same courtesy from foreign soldiers," he snapped. He leaned forward, voice low but venomous. "Salute me, or I will report this insult to the ministry." The aide paled. Diplomats exchanged frantic looks. Report? That could spark a scandal between two countries. The tomb guard, trained to remain silent, did not speak, but his eyes locked onto the colonel with a steadiness that made every witness's breath catch. Then, slow and deliberate, the guard took exactly one step back, reset his posture, and assumed the position of watchful readiness, a stance reserved for potential threats. The colonel bristled. Threat? Me? But what he didn't know was that protocol had already triggered inside the guard's training. Anyone obstructing the ceremonial path more than twice is treated not as a dignitary, but as a security risk. And so the guard prepared for the action that would shock the entire embassy. The tomb guard's voice finally rang out, sharp, commanding, and echoing through the courtyard. "Remove yourself from the mat path." The colonel stiffened. The embassy staff froze. The audience stared wide-eyed. No one expected the guard to speak. A second command followed, even louder. "This is sacred post. Do not obstruct my duty." Gasps, murmurs. A few people instinctively stepped backward. The colonel took a half step forward, furious. "You dare shout at an officer of the People's Army?" Before he even finished the sentence, the guard took one perfect step forward, boots slamming the ground with a thunderous crack, and the tip of his ceremonial rifle snapped downward to a defensive angle. The message was unmistakable. One more step from the colonel, and security protocol would escalate. The embassy's interpreter frantically whispered to the colonel, "Stop. They treat the tomb as sovereign ground. Even presidents follow their rules." But the colonel, face burning with humiliation, sputtered, "This is absurd. He is a simple guard." The guard responded instantly, voice carrying through the courtyard. "I am not here for you. I am here for them." He pointed, not at the colonel, not at the diplomats, but at the tomb of the unknown hero. The entire delegation fell silent, and the colonel, for the first time, hesitated. Security personnel finally moved in, not to restrain the guard, but to gently escort the colonel back. The ambassador rushed over, whispering urgently, "Colonel Jiang, you are not above this ceremony. No one is." "This is disrespect," he hissed. "It is tradition," the ambassador corrected. and your behavior has already embarrassed the delegation. Journalists were already filming. Whispered commentary spread like wildfire across the courtyard. A senior embassy official approached the guard. He didn't touch him. He didn't speak to him. He simply nodded, as if to say, "You followed your duty. We'll handle the rest." The colonel realized too late what he had done. He had challenged a soldier whose entire life was built on one principle: honor the fallen above all. Trying to force a salute from such a guard was not a display of power. It was a display of ignorance. And everyone present knew it. Hours later, after tense meetings and panicked diplomats trying to control the fallout, something unbelievable happened. Colonel Jiang requested to return to the memorial, alone. He walked quietly across the courtyard, the sun now low. No reporters, no entourage, just him and the silent sentinel. When he approached the edge of the mat path, he stopped himself, a full 3 meters away. The guard marched, turned, and passed him exactly as protocol dictated. Then the colonel did something no one expected. He bowed, deeply. It wasn't political. It wasn't forced. It was human. A bow of respect. A bow of apology. A bow acknowledging the weight of the tomb that even he had failed to understand. The guard, as always, did not react. But something in the air felt lighter. Later, the embassy released a single statement. Respect is a language understood by all nations, and witnesses who had been there that day still say, the moment the guard stood his ground wasn't an act of defiance. It was a reminder. Some honors are earned long after the soldiers who deserve them are gone, and no rank on earth is high enough to command their salute.